Today, Nathan and I are going to rank the top 36 players for fantasy football in 2025. We're going to do it like this. We're going to rank all these players, not in tiers 1 through 36. It should spark some good discussion. And we're going to alternate picking guys to put on these ranks. And so, for example, I'll start with number 1. Nathan will rank the number 2 guy. And we're just going to go down the list and name our top 36. There will be some good discussion. So tell us where you agree. Tell us where you disagree. But make sure you drop a like before we get into this. I'll start. No discussion to be had here. Jamar Chase is the number 1 player in fantasy football this year. Next.
This is not a question for me either. No, I am not. As much as I make a big deal about it and joke about it, I'm not a true believer in the Madden curse. If I'm drafting second overall, I am taking Saquon Barkley. You can't not take him because of his upside. You're kind of honestly, whether you want to or not, you're locked into taking Saquon Barkley here.
Okay. Kind of gets spicy already.
Yes, it does.
Because it's a big tier here.
Oh, yeah.
CeeDee Lamb is my number 3. Nice. I think CD is due for a really big bounce back year. I think with Dak throwing the ball, he'll be, you have to remember, we just had a season, literally a year removed from a season where CeeDee Lamb absolutely tore up fantasy football. Posted one of the best fantasy football seasons of all time. In 2023, he had 400 PPR points. He had 180 targets, 135 receptions, 1,750 yards, and 12 touchdowns. And obviously, he missed a couple games last year. And also, he was missing his quarterback. He gets his quarterback back. You get George Pickens that offense, which will only help CeeDee Lamb. You have a new scheme there, potentially. As well. Like, it's going to be pretty much a new coaching. I think CeeDee Lamb is due for a bounce back year. The other guys, all of these other guys in this range, again, this is a huge tier, technically. But I'm calling my shot. I think CeeDee Lamb is going to be the wide receiver 2 in fantasy football this year.
Give me Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah.
That's going to be my pick here. I think that we're going to find a lot out about the Detroit Lions offense this year and who had a hand in what was going on schematically, and specifically with the running backs. I think we're going to learn a lot about Ben Johnson versus Dan Campbell and who was really wanting that split to happen the way it was. Is Monty going to get more carries, less carries? Is Gibbs going to get more usage overall? Or is it going to be just an even split and they run the ball more? Will they, as a whole, run the ball less? I don't really know. Regardless, this is what I do know. Jahmyr Gibbs actually, ironically, finished as a running back 1 last year because he played one more game than Saquon, who sat out the last game of the season. The 7th overall productive fantasy player in fantasy football last year. So with Gibbs, I think it's a slam dunk pick here. Most years, a guy like Gibbs would be going like 2nd overall, and you just kind of have to take Saquon, who was just out of this world last year. So,
all right, you can't let Justin Jefferson go any further than this because otherwise we'd be making the same mistake last year. Justin Jefferson was the wide receiver 2 last year. I think the quarterback situation gets a little bit worse for Jefferson, but it doesn't matter because he's quarterback proof. And so, we're really talking in terms of technicality here because CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson are in the same tier, but I think how I would have it if I had to predict the season today would be Chase 1, CeeDee Lamb 2, and Jefferson a close 3 behind Lamb. And so I think Jefferson's going to be, as good as he's ever been as a fantasy football pick. You never fade Justin Jefferson ever, and we won't be doing that on this channel.
Yeah, I won't be fading Bijan this year either. I think what he was able to do last season was a breath of fresh air, something that we needed to see happen his second year, and he really broke out, ended up being phenomenal. He was second only to Gibbs, really, and Gibbs and Saquon. He's the RB3 last year, and I think that's going to continue this season. He has top 3 running back upside, barring injury. I think he's going to finish right around that range as well, unless someone else explodes this year like Genty or Hampton or something and just shocks us. But ultimately, I think Bijan's going to be one of the safer picks at the running back position this season. He just gets his own. He gets his volume. Gibbs is honestly going to have bigger boom weeks, and Bijan's just going to score you 20-plus points pretty much every single week. So,
and again, this is a giant tier. You can't go wrong with any of these players. I'm going, again,
I almost went with Neighbors.
I was going to say Neighbors, I would make a pretty good argument, but again, they're all in the same tier.
I was
going to say we're literally, you're just taking all the running backs here. Neighbors, I think you have to put on here because he had 170 targets in his rookie year. And, he had Daniel Jones the first half of the year, and then he had a bunch of, guys from the Canadian Football League throwing him to the second half of the year. And, this year you have Russell Wilson and Jackson Dart. I think I would classify as at least a slight upgrade for him, but it really doesn't matter. He's another guy that's going to be QB proof, not to mention in his first year in the NFL. He proved to be nearly unstoppable. He was a wide receiver 6 in his rookie season, but again, 170 targets. He only brought in 109 of those. I think he could bring in a higher percentage if he, ends up getting better passes, but only 7 touchdowns in the year last year as well. I think Malik Neighbors is only going to get better as he continues. He's only 21 years old. I think he's extremely safe. Because of his target volume, it makes him an extremely high floor option. And so I will be drafting Malik Neighbors fantasy football this year, no doubt.
It wouldn't be a fantasy video. It wouldn't be a fantasy, essentially mock draft is what we're kind of doing here, if I wasn't getting Puka Nacua. It is unhealthy how obsessed I am with him. I think you guys learned that quite quickly last year. Puka Nacua is my favorite wide receiver in the NFL. And on top of that, he's one of the best true wide receivers in the NFL, and he commands some of the best volume among wide receivers in the NFL. This guy can do no wrong. The only wrong that he can do is get hurt, and he has to stay healthy, and that honestly is the only reason that he's not going multiple picks higher than this, because he has one yellow flag on his profile, and it's that he's gotten banged. He has an injury history dating back to college. He got banged up last year, missed a significant amount of time. When he is on the field, Jamar Chase is like the only wide receiver that has a higher ceiling than he does. It's ridiculous. Devontae Adams, yes, you heard it here first. Devontae Adams is going to help Puka Nacua in his production, and I think they're both going to be mutually beneficial assets on the same team. I would expect both of them to be very productive, and I would expect that offense to take a big step up this season. They went out of their way to let go of Cooper Kupp and add Devontae Adams for a reason. It's going to help everyone there.
I can't talk myself out of taking Christian McCaffrey here. I really tried to take somebody else, and I couldn't do it. I think CMC's upside, his receiving capability, his high floor when he's on the field, his league breaking potential. I think it's just too much to pass up here at 10. Yes, he could lose you a league, but again, you feel a lot better taking Christian McCaffrey at the turn than you would at the beginning of your drafts, because you can stack another elite-ish guy with him right there when it comes back to you. Whereas if you're taking him a snake draft at 1 or 2, you're falling out a couple of ranges before you get another pick. And so I tried. It's Chris McCaffrey, guys. There's nothing else to be said about that. It's Chris McCaffrey.
Getting Amon-Ra St. Brown at 10th overall prices is pretty dang solid for me. I mean, if you guys remember last year in the Flock League, Avery took him, I think, at 6th overall.
Safe pick.
And ended up winning the league. And it's not like Amon-Ra blew us away with production last season. If you can win the league with Amon-Ra St. Brown last season, which plenty of people did, you definitely can do it at ADP 11 right now, according to Underdog. If you're getting him at those prices at the end of the first round, you know that he's going to be one of the most consistent, most reliable. He is tough as nails. He plays through injury, obviously coming off of that knee surgery that he had in the offseason. No, we're not worried about it. A lot of football players have offseason surgery because they're tough and they play through injury. Amon-Ra St. Brown is no exception. And no, he's not going to take a hit from the Ben Johnson exit either. If anything, they're just going to lean on him more because he's the most reliable option there.
This is where I bring somebody up my list. I'm going Derrick Henry.
Dang it! I wanted him. I didn't think you were going to take him.
Too bad. Now I'm taking him because, again, I mean, Derrick Henry last year had almost 2,000 rushing yards.
Yeah, that's
and he averaged 5.9 yards per carry last year.
Second best season ever.
He doesn't get a ton of receiving usage. He doesn't need it. He doesn't need it. Nothing is going to change with Derrick Henry. He was breaking fantasy football last year. He's going to break fantasy football again this year. You're looking at 30, 35 points, 25 points, 25 points, 26 points. Obviously, 24 points, 30 points, 20 points. Obviously, he has weeks where he has 6 points. He has weeks where he has 14 points, 10 points. But all the 30-point weeks, I mean, this is what you need on your team. Derrick Henry, I don't care about his age at all. I never will. He was the running back 4 last year. He would be the 4th running back, I think, in these rankings as well. Give me Derrick Henry here.
Drake London was a wide receiver 5 last year with Kirk Cousins playing most of the season, and then Michael Penix comes in, and they don't miss a step. In fact, he has some of the highest upside games that he ever had all season with Michael Penix. That's not going to change this year, guys. Their offense runs through Bijan and Drake London. Those two guys, they are getting 80% of the opportunity in that offense. Expect another big year from Drake London. He's definitely not taking a step back. If anything, he finishes again as a top 6 wide receiver, barring injury, obviously, for everyone. There's no reason to believe that he would be worse than he was last season as a wide receiver 5 overall. You have to take him here. He's very safe at the very least. Good pick.
Yeah, give me Nico. Yeah. Look, we've said we're not the biggest Nico Collins. Here's the thing. Nico Collins has never finished higher than the wide receiver 12. In 2023, yeah, he had a great season, but he was still the wide receiver. He only had 109 targets. He only had 80 receptions. But it's what he does with it. He's so dang efficient. He's one of the most efficient wide receivers in the entire NFL. He's coming back healthy this year. I expect him to feed the ball through Nico Collins in that offense pretty religiously this year. And, from an upside perspective, there aren't really many people that have as much upside as Nico Collins does. He could be a top 5 wide receiver pretty easily this year, and so I think taking him here at 13 is totally acceptable.
All right, can't let Jency fall any further than this. I do think the story for Jency as a highly talented top prospect at the running back position I think it's going to be a different story than Bijan was in 2023. I really, really do. I think this situation is built out for him better than it was in Atlanta, and Arthur Smith isn't calling the freaking plays. So Jency in his own right is a great talent. He does have receiving upside and capability. Didn't show it last season. He did 2 years ago in college at Boise State. He's just such a dominant runner that they might not even have to utilize him that way. And then Bowers obviously is a big threat in the air, which is only going to open up the field. They're not going to be able to stack the box against Jency at the NFL level like they did in college because they actually have a receiving threat that's Bowers, Myers, and then Besh and Thornton maybe even. Both of those guys are making some noise right now. So look out for Jency this season. I think he's going to have a good year.
Brian Thomas Jr. had Mac Jones throwing him the ball last year, and he was the wide receiver 4 in fantasy football. I mean, the situation was so much less than ideal. Doug Peterson was essentially doing squat on the sidelines, right? I mean, he wasn't doing anything. He was, again, the wide receiver 4 last year. In his first season in the NFL, he had 133 targets as an X for 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns. Again, you had Brian Thomas scoring, I think, let me just try to find this game. I think it was the Jets game in week 15 or the Vegas game in week 16 where he just had all those garbage time points in the touchdowns, like just they're trying to claw back into it, and he's just catching passes left and right from Mac Jones. I can't stress to you how bad Mac Jones is, and he's doing this. I understand they bring in Travis Hunter, but Travis Hunter could easily help him. Obviously, their deployment is going to be interesting, but if I have to give the edge to somebody in that offense, especially from a wide receiver standpoint, I'll take the proven guy. I'll take the guy who doesn't play on defense as well. And I think Brian Thomas Jr., again, the upside that you get with him is insane. It's too much to pass up. He had way too good of a rookie year. He was extremely, extremely good as a rookie.
If you, as the audience, could tell the future and you could let me know that Tua and Achane are both going to be fully healthy for the entire season, I would have taken Achane at 12 if you're able to do that. Achane at 16, I think is going to be a great value. You're definitely going to be able to get him there at price. He is the highest upside pick in this range. It's not even close.
Oh gosh, it gets ugly right now.
It does get a little ugly.
I'll take the safe pick. This is where I start going safe, and I'll go AJ Brown.
Good pick.
Yeah, I think, with AJ Brown, we talk about AJ Brown, and last season there were some rough spots for AJ Brown, partially because he missed some time in the season, but also because he just had some stretches where he wasn't really dominant. He really wasn't getting near the target volume that he got in previous years on a per game basis. But still, when you're looking at AJ Brown, in 13 games, he was the wide receiver 20 on the season. I mean, that's nothing to shy away from. I mean, he's pretty much made Devonta Smith. I mean, he's taken a lot away from Smith. And when you're looking on a points per game basis, he was only 0.3 points off of where he was in 2023, averaged 17 points per game in 2023, and in 2024, 16.7 points per game. It's an extremely safe pick, in my opinion. He's going to be the focal point of that passing offense and that air raid attack. I definitely think that AJ Brown, once you get to the second round, is the safe pick, and so you could pair him with a riskier first round pick and feel a little bit good about your overall profile. But once we start getting into the gross stuff here, I have to go safety, and I go AJ Brown.
Yeah, position aside, and you just go exclusive fantasy upside, Brock Bowers is the easy pick here. I think Bowers, with the volume that he got as a rookie last season, no one has to talk about that situation any more than they already have. It's elite level. It's elite caliber. The only thing, again, keeping Bowers from doing that again is just getting banged up. And the guy is the top option there. He is the top, wide receiver in that offense. I think he's going to continue to dominate. And like I said earlier with Jency, I think this is a mutually beneficial move for the Raiders, where that now they have a viable run game with a viable receiving game, where that's just going to really help the overall explosiveness of the offense as a whole and help Bowers produce, while it also helps Jency produce at the same time. So give me Bowers.
I'm not going to lie to you. It is kind of a dumpster fire now. I don't know who to take. There's a couple guys I'm considering. I'm just going to go ahead and take Jonathan Taylor here. I think he'll end up going into the second round of fantasy football drafts. And Jonathan Taylor, even when he was, on the field last year, because, it wasn't the best situation. He missed 3 games, but he was a running back 1 last year. And from a points per game perspective as well, when you're looking at JT's production, obviously the situation there's not going to be great, but it really hasn't been great. He had 12 touchdowns last year. He had 1,400 rushing yards. He still was efficient, averaged 4.7 yards per carry. Only had 18 receptions the entire year. That's an insane stat to me, is that he only had 18 receptions. Have you noticed how his receiving usage has just ticked down every year since he had 40 in 2021?
Yeah.
Like, we really haven't used him in that way. which is fine because you see guys like Derrick Henry. From a points per game standpoint, though, 17.5 points per game last year, 7th in the NFL among running backs. And so when you're looking at Jonathan Taylor, all he really has to do is stay healthy, and he's a proven productive running back for your fantasy team.
This is a shot called. It's been officially announced that Rashee Rice is going to be a full participant in training camp, and there is, in my eyes, I have no discomfort taking him here at this price. If Rashee Rice had played a full season and Mahomes hadn't dolphin dived into his knee, he would be comfortably going in the middle of the first round, and it's not even close. He would be going probably right around where Amon-Ra St. Brown is being priced right now. I'll take him at this discount coming off the injury. I know it's high risk. I am 100% willing to take the risk here. He is Mahomes' top option as the exclusive slot wide receiver, getting target after target after target, and his yak is second to none. So.
I'm going back to a safe pick and taking Ladd McConkey here. I know Ladd's upside is very limited. However, Ladd has established himself according to his reception perception profile with his success rates against different types of coverage, his analytics from a production standpoint in year one, where he was the wide receiver 13, high-end wide receiver 2 in his rookie year. Really the only guy in LA that was fantasy productive. And he did that in his rookie year. He was extremely efficient as well. Because he only really had 82 receptions, but he had 1,149 yards and 7 touchdowns on 82 receptions. That's ridiculous. And so I think he's safe because of that. I think he's always going to be a decently high target option. And I know the upside compared to some of the guys in this range, especially the running backs, is limited. But at this point, again, I like to lean safety, especially if I'm pairing him with I don't know, a running back from the first round or something like that.
Yeah, it's starting to get really, really hairy in Tampa's offense because there's starting to be a lot of mouths to feed, but that's more on the receiving end, and I think a lot of people are overthinking that situation with the receivers and getting a little distracted and realizing, hey, Bucky's probably going to get every touch this year, and I think he's pretty comfortably gonna go in this range in the mid to late second, and I'm totally cool taking him at this price. RB9, if he finishes as a mid to low end running back, that's totally fine, or mid to low end running back 1, that's totally fine with me. He's got great receiving upside and capability. He's very explosive. This year specifically, I think he's gonna have a pretty good one.
I'm gonna take another running back that you probably weren't expecting. I'm gonna take Chase Brown, actually. Yeah. Chase Brown, if you're going off where these guys finished last year, Chase Brown was a running back 1 last year, right? He was the running back 10 overall. He was the 35th ranked player overall. And honestly, you're talking about his snapshot at the beginning of the season only being 33%, 20%, 24%, 40%, 33%.
Very similar path as Bucky.
For the first 5 weeks of the season, and he still was a running back 1. So if you take that, 5 out of 18 weeks, you're talking about almost a third of the season. So even if you increase his production by 33% or so, or maybe not even that, because he wasn't giving you nothing in those weeks. He's giving you 5, 3, and 8 points. So even if you increase his production by 15%, at that point, he's a top 6 running back. And, so he has that upside. He's on an offense that literally never stops. And I think he showed last year that he'll win you weeks. And so I don't think there's any reason not to take Chase Brown in the first 2 rounds of fantasy football drafts.
Yeah, I'll take another running back, and I'll take Jacobs. Jacobs had a great year last year. A nice comeback from when he really struggled in 2023 with Vegas, and it just showed you that, a better situation can work wonders for a running back with the talent level of Jacobs. And yeah, he's been in the league for a while. He's going to go into his 7th year. He's got a lot of miles on him. But I'm not really worried about it when, honestly, Golden as their wide receiver 1 hopefully is just this year. We don't have a lot of expectations for Golden this year because he is more of a raw developmental wide receiver that may take a little bit of time. And that's only going to bode even better for Jacobs in the fact that, hey, they found success running their offense mainly through him. And I think they're going to find more success doing that again this season. So Jacobs, once those touchdowns came in the last 2/3 of the season, he didn't even look back. He was one of the best running backs in the league. So as long as that volume continues to come through and he's getting those opportunities in the red zone, he's going to continue his production and his tear in Green Bay.
This felt yucky in the first 24 picks, but as soon as we're at pick 25, I'm like, okay, I'll take Tyreek now.
Yeah.
I honestly thought about taking him 4 picks ago, if maybe even 5, because it's Tyreek Hill has as much upside, league winning upside, and he has more league winning upside than everybody past Genty, BTJ. Really, he does. Mm-hmm. The problem is, last year there really was, outside of Tua being injured, but even when Tua was back, Tyreek wasn't great. He just was super hit or miss last year, and he definitely wasn't the Tyreek Hill. He wasn't even close to the Tyreek Hill we saw the 2 years before that. It's really just a matter of if he returns to form. He's going to be 32 years old. He has all different sorts of injuries. He obviously has off the field issues as well. But the upside is undeniable, and you can afford that risk, I think, when you get into the 3rd round of fantasy drafts, and so I'll take him here in the 3rd at pick number 25.
I'm between two guys here. I'm gonna go with JSN. I think with JSN, he showed plenty of upside last year as the top option there, alongside DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Those two guys are out of the offense now. Kupp is in there, who's pretty much at this point in his career going to be an exclusive slot, who's not going to have the explosive ability that he's had in past years in a Sean McVay offense that was just a better offense. I don't know how much volume he's honestly going to get out when JSN is commanding so much and Darnold's throwing the ball. Geno to Darnold is a lateral move at best. If anything, it might be a slight downgrade with the quarterback play, but to me that doesn't matter. I think it's canceled out by the fact that you had DK and Lockett leaving that offense. So overall, with JSN being the top option there and showing what he did last season, really breaking out and showing the upside that he has in fantasy, I'm totally cool with you taking him here.
I'm going to take an upside shot here on Marvin Harrison Jr.
Nice.
At this point, we would have him ranked, I think, as the wide receiver. Where are we at here? Wide receiver 15-ish or something like that.
Yep.
And honestly, his upside is top 8 pretty easily. And so again, I'm taking an upside shot. Yeah, he didn't have the greatest of rookie years, but that was it was a good combination of kind of everything, which I think makes it a little bit more achievable. It was Kyler wasn't great throwing him the ball. It was schematically they didn't use him correctly, and it was Marv wasn't himself last year for the most part. And so, Marv is so young. I mean, he's still 21, I'm pretty sure. And so he's going to continue to get better every year in the NFL, and I'm going to continue to bet on the elite wide receiver talent that he is. He's now 22. He is an elite wide receiver talent. There's no doubt about it. And yes, we saw his floor last year. We also saw his upside. I'm going to just guess that his upside stays the same and he raises his floor just a little bit. And I think he's going to be a solid pick in fantasy football this year.
Yeah, I think T. Higgins will be great this year as well. I almost took T at 26. Don't think wide receiver 2. Think tied to Joe Burrow. That actually does matter here. And the biggest risk, the biggest thing with T. Higgins is he is relatively risky on a week-to-week basis because he consistently misses time every single year. It honestly, I mean, at this price, I think it's worth it because the dude was better on a per game basis than he ever has been in his entire career last year. It earned him his contract extension in Cincinnati, and I think he's going to continue that this year in one of the most explosive passing offenses in the NFL.
Give me Kyren Williams here at number 29. Nice. I think for a running back that has finished consistently as the running back 7 each of the last 2 years, and you're looking at last year, all the volume he got 316 carries. I think that was first or second in the league. And he wasn't the most efficient. He wasn't over 5 yards per carry like he was in 2023, but it didn't matter because he had 14 touchdowns. He had 12 the year before. He's clearly shown that he's going to be a high volume workhorse back that gets lots of touches and does score touchdowns as well. You look at, his receiving upside and it's 48 and 40. It's average to, below average, but again, with the rushing touches alone, you have to look at Kyren in the 3rd round. You're like, okay, I'm feeling pretty good. I like stacking running backs here. I'll go Kyren Williams.
Yeah, I'll go tight end 2. I'll take Trey McBride. There is a world this year where Trey McBride outproduces Bowers. He had the same amount of volume, same amount of opportunity, and he just scored less touchdowns, which, if you talk about that regressing back to, him actually getting more production in the red zone this year, that's definitely a possibility. That also just might be his role. Maybe they just don't like utilizing him in the red zone. And if that's the case, he'll finish probably as the tight end 2. And that's where I'm taking him here in the middle of the 3rd round. I'm totally cool with that.
Give me Lamar. We'll go quarterback here. And I think that, so we have them both ranked about the same spot. I think quarterbacks you've seen altogether are going to be moving down fantasy football boards this year in your drafts. But if it means you can get Lamar Jackson in the 3rd round instead of the 2nd, I've never been a fan of taking quarterback in the 2nd, but I think taking quarterback in the 3rd is totally fine. Lamar Jackson had the best season of his career last year from a production standpoint. And how did he not win MVP?
You're telling me, dude. I'm the one that went on a rant last year when he didn't win.
He threw for 41 touchdowns. He had 4 interceptions.
No, it literally was.
That's Rodgers. That's Rodgers.
I know.
Passing wise,
I know. You realize they only did that just because they felt bad for Allen.
Yeah. It's voter fatigue.
Yes.
Lamar Jackson though, 430 I think fantasy points last year in PPR leagues. He's going to give you an advantage over the rest of the quarterbacks for sure.
Devontae Adams will just continue to produce. He just will. I don't care if he's a 1. I don't care if he's a 2. People thought he was a 2 last year with Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. He ended up actually being the 1. Missing 3 games last year because he had a hurt hammy that ended up getting him traded. The dude still finished as a wide receiver 11. He was much higher than that on a per game basis. Will he finish as that? Obviously, I'm not saying that he's going to finish as that again this year because I'm drafting him in the middle towards the end of the 3rd round here. But, dude, his upside is incredible. He gets a ridiculous amount of red zone targets. That's how he's made his living in the NFL for a decade. And that's going to continue in a Matt Stafford offense where McVay is calling plays for this guy, drawing up plays specifically for him. So I think he's going to have a great season.
I'll shoot for the stars and go Breece Hall here. I think with Breece, the best case you can make for him, because he got about the same amount of carries. He was less efficient than he was in 2023, but he got 20 less receptions than he had in 2023 when you got to 2024. But the one thing that you've consistently seen with Breece Hall in his first 3 seasons in the NFL, 4, 5, and 5 rushing touchdowns in each of his first 3 seasons. He hasn't had a season yet where he's had double-digit rushing touchdowns. In fact, he's not gotten close. He's only gotten halfway there. So I think the hope with Breece Hall, and my number one reason for trying to bet on him, I think maybe the coaching staff gives him the ball more in the red zone and he actually scores touchdowns this year. Yeah. Because if Breece scores 10 touchdowns with these stat lines. He was the running back 2, first of all, in 2023 in 17 games. But in 2024, you give him 5 more touchdowns, and he's a top 5 running back. I think he has that upside. I think everybody knows Breece has that upside. And while the situation isn't great, he is playing alongside Justin Fields, and that is a little bit more of a dynamic situation there. So I'll take my shot on Breece here. This will end up being, the late third. So
yeah, Allen started slow last year, and then he really came on second half of the season and just started exploding and having the ridiculous high upside that we're used to him having and showing on a weekly basis. Finishes a QB2. He always finishes as a QB1 or 2 every single year. I don't really know why you'd expect anything different this year. So just for that reason, I think you kind of have to take him around this range, 3-4 turn.
I don't know who to take now. Now we're in another really gross tier drop off.
It's gross. There's 1 guy, 2 guys that we haven't taken.
Yeah, well, there's 1 guy you're not gonna like. Give me Ted McMillan. This is why
I thought you'd do it just to spite me.
This is why I don't think he's a bad pick, because the guy literally, it's either the funny thing about this range is there's a lot of quarterbacks and tight ends in this range because you start getting into the Kittles, right? The Jaden Daniels, the Jalen Hurts, and I typically don't like taking those guys. I move those guys way down my rankings. That's just how I play. And so really, it's you're taking Mike Evans or Tet, DJ Moore or Tet,
or Garrett Wilson,
Terry McLaurin or Tet,
or Garrett Wilson,
or we haven't taken.
No, I'm taking Wilson.
We haven't taken Wilson?
No, I'm taking
Wilson.
Wilson.
I thought he was gone.
No, I mean, I think this is right around where Wilson should be priced. I think he should be into the 3rd round. I'm taking Garrett Wilson at 36.
Okay, all right. Well,
and that would have been Avery's pick if he had known that he was there, I think. And then he would have put me in the pickle, and I probably would have taken Terry before I took Ted McMillan.
I think Terry you can make
so honorable mention is going to be Terry here. We just throw him in there at 37, I guess. But,
yeah, top 37.
Top 37, yeah. I think with Wilson, you get it at this point. Ugly situation it has been for 4 years now. And with Terry, he's the wide receiver 1 in an offense where they like to run the ball a lot, and he doesn't get a ridiculous amount of volume. We're definitely expecting regression from Terry this year, but again, at price right now, end of the 3rd round, beginning of the 4th, that's a fine price, I think, for him. So.
All right, so there you go. That's our initial top 36. Let us know who's too high, who's too low, where you'd move up, and who you'd move onto this list. If you enjoy the content, make sure you drop a like, make sure you subscribe. But we love you guys. We appreciate you so much. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later.